All right, it's recording. Kelly's trying to get back in. I think she's having trouble. She might be on voice now.
Yeah, we have a massive windstorm happening here. My internet is going in and out. I'm trying right now. I really am. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm just gonna keep making bracelets. And I'm
Perfect.
gonna and then I'm gonna talk. I have a call at 3, so you guys think I can have 30 minutes? Is that okay if I stay longer than I said I was gonna stay?
Now you're welcome to stay as long as you like.
Awesome. Well, don't stop knitting or crocheting. Like we want to get a lot done, Kelly. Got a lot
And
of. Oh, she went off again. Darn it.
Recording now though, right?
Yeah, I'm recording. So I wanted to start just by telling you a little bit about what I've been thinking about and what I'd like to talk to the American public about uh, regarding Operation Gratitude, especially after a long year in the pandemic and really trying to do two things. One, trying to inspire individual volunteers like you and community groups to do more. I mean, that's really my role, right? If you think about what a CEO of a nonprofit does, my role is to try to get people to do more. And the second thing is I'm really focused on inspiring other people and other groups to join our movement, to be part of Operation Gratitude. And if we do those two things, right? If we inspire people to do more and we inspire others to join our movement, we're going to have a greater impact. We'll get more scarves, we'll get more bracelets, we'll get more letters, we'll get more battalion buddies, which I'll talk about in a minute. We'll get more, beautiful blank greeting cards. Look at this, one of the cards someone made. It's unbelievable when you think about it, but it seems like a very simple idea, but it's something that is what made Operation Gratitude what it is today, right? Something that started on someone's dining room table is literally being done on thousands of tables across the country. Carolyn started this with a few friends and made 4 care packages, and there were letters in those packages. But now think about what we do every day. So that's really what I'm trying to figure out. How do we message that? How do we talk about what we do that makes us different? And you've heard me say, and you've seen me write, actions speak louder than words. That is what Operation Gratitude is relative to every other nonprofit that talks about what we should do or what we must do or what we could do. We're just out there doing it, right? We're getting it done, just like we are today. You're making scarves and I'm making bracelets, and we're talking about what we're doing, but we're also taking action. And the second thing I've thought a lot about is how can we properly capture what this organization does every day? And I thought of this like it's a neat hashtag on social media. OG is everywhere. And in order to do that, how do we tell that story? Well, one, we tell that story by sharing the impact that we're making. And I'll talk a little bit about what we did over the last 2 weeks, and you'll start to understand what I'm saying. But we also get people to tell their story. Like we do it all the time on the OG in Action Facebook volunteer group. People are sharing what they're doing, and they're in different locations across the country. So imagine if all of you started to post, today I did this, I'm in whatever city, right? And that's what we're doing really. But we can show geographically, if you think about that from terms of someone seeing this movement on social media. And no, not all of us like to post on social media. I wake up every day, I'm literally, before I grab a cup of coffee, I'm on my phone and I post my first thing on Facebook and LinkedIn every day before I even get out of bed, which is hard for me without a cup of coffee. But I do that because I have to, not because I all the time I want to. That's part of me being the CEO, trying to what? Inspire people to do more and inspire other people to join our movement. What I would like everyone to understand is if they help us tell that story, and it's not just me posting or all of you posting, but hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people, we will show the true magnitude of this organization and the impact that we're making, not just on our recipients, right, but on our volunteers who have that sense of purpose. And we're doing this right now across the country with Vietnam Veterans Paracord Bracelet Challenge. We'll receive thousands and thousands and thousands of these. So that's great. And we're going to make an impact. We're going to make Vietnam veterans literally cry with pride and emotion, because many of them, they're going to see for the first time that their service in Vietnam was appreciated. But think about the volunteers right now who are making them, just like you have a sense of purpose every day, knowing that the handmade with love items that you make are going in our care packages. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to inspire people to do that and to tell their story with us. And I think if they do that, not only are we inspiring them to do more because we encourage each other, but they get other people to join our movement too. So they're doing that second part with us. It's not just about you knitting more scarves or knitting more hats or making the amigurumi figures. It's about inspiring other people to join us too, groups even, and getting them involved. So that's kind of about where my head is on the bigger picture of what does 2021 look like for Operation Gratitude? I asked our team, what do you want 2021 to be? What would that message be? How would you talk about it? If you had to say what excites you and what inspires you about Operation Gratitude, what would it be? And I heard lots of different things. I heard impact. I heard consistency of impact. I heard storytelling and hearing our volunteers tell about the impact that it made on them, hearing from our recipients. So all of these themes are starting to come together. And in my mind, saying that OG is everywhere, making an impact with our actions and having other people tell that story with us is what 2021 is all about. And it kind of became clear to me as I was typing up this thing a couple of days ago about what we did for our 18th anniversary. You think about it. We celebrated the only way that Operation Gratitude knows how. We are impacting 18,000 deployed troops on our 18th anniversary. And I was at our headquarters in Los Angeles, and we had soldiers from a local Army unit. We had the California Air National Guard. We had young recruit poolies, which are young people in high school that are waiting to go to recruit training with the Marine Corps. We had the officers from LAPD coming and assembling care packages in small groups so that we could get 3,000 of our signature white care packages for deployed troops made up with just amazing items, to include paracord bracelets, scarves, handwritten letters, right? It's so amazing to see that we're doing this still in the midst of a pandemic. And the other 15,000 that we're going to impact will be done in partnership with the American Red Cross, where we'll send pallets of items on aircraft to Germany and Asia, and they'll be broken into smaller care packages into these bags that we have, the Operation Gratitude goodie bags. And those will go to deploy troops in dozens of countries outside of the 3,000 we send in our typical care package box, because we can't make 18,000, right? So now we have this partnership and we're able to realize, but that doesn't mean they're not getting bracelets and scarves and letters. They're getting all that too. It's just done in bags overseas. It's a pretty amazing thing to think about. And in that same week, think about where we were and what we did and who we impacted with the help of our volunteers. 4,500 National Guardsmen, California National Guardsmen at 3 vaccination sites and 17 food banks. They received close to 300,000 items, I think, individual items. And think about what they're going through right now. 4,500 soldiers and airmen in California who are basically deployed. They might as well be overseas because they're not with their families. They're staying in hotels. They're staying wherever the National Guard has them. Now, some of them may be able to go home, but not all of them. Think about the impact that we made with our actions. 214 children in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, the place that Paul and I were stationed together in an artillery battalion, received these stuffed bears. And their parents are deployed right now. You think about what that means to those children and the comfort it gives them. In an infantry battalion called 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, who Paul and I know very well from our time at Camp Lejeune. The spouses, hundreds of them, also received these goodie bags too. And they had special items that would make them feel good and lift their spirits. Items that a corporate sponsor like L'Oreal, right, who gives high-end creams and face masks and hand creams and things that a military spouse would really enjoy and feel pampered with, right? And that may not be everything when your husband or your wife is deployed, or your loved one's deployed for months on end, but it does something. And that's pretty significant if you think about that. And then on top of that, we had a team in Dallas where Rich Headley and one of our ambassadors, Dr. O, an Air Force veteran, assembled care packages at a museum with a small group of volunteers for first responders and hospital workers, healthcare workers, doctors and nurses all over Dallas. Thousands of them. And then just this weekend, after Paul and I flew back on Monday and Tuesday, he was up in New York. And on Tuesday, he delivered 1,000 care packages to police officers in NYPD, 1,000 police officers in Staten Island. I mean, that is 1 week. So when I say to you at the beginning of the like this overview that OG is everywhere, do I have to say anything else except for talking about it, right? And that's just us. Imagine if all of you and hundreds of volunteers on the OG in Action page and then on our main page on Facebook and other social media said, OG is everywhere. This is what I did today. This is what I did in my community. This is what I did in my home. This is what I did at my school. This is what I did with my scout troop. And that was all over the country happening, because in order to do the things that we did, it took months. It took months to get the items, to sort them, to roll the scarves, to bag the bracelets, to packet the letters. So it's a buildup. So we need to tell that story all the time. And everything that we do this year, everything that we do, from April, the month of the military child, to Military Appreciation Month in May, to the 12 days of gratitude again, and Christmas in July, where we celebrate another holiday halfway through the year, to September 11th, to Veterans Day, to holiday care packages again. Every single one of those things, we will impact between 20 to 50,000 recipients. And at a minimum, 100,000 volunteers will be involved with those efforts. I mean, where else would you see that happening? How can you even like wrap your head around the fact that that's going on again and again and again? So that's the kind of momentum that we can build when we talk about impact, right? Like just in real numbers, the impact that we make for recipients and the impact that we make on our volunteers. And we show that, and we ask our recipients and our volunteers to tell that story. So I wanted to focus a little bit in on the next two big things, because what you're doing today, right, and what we are doing right now will help inform some of these efforts, especially what I'll tell you about in May. Because I want you to know, as you're doing this, that the things that you're doing are going to impact people a couple months from now, right? So that you can visualize exactly what you're doing and why, and what it's going to do, and what it's going to mean to this organization and to the people who receive the beautiful items that you make. And for the month of the military child, which is April, we will deliver 5,000 of these stuffed bears. So what you need to know is it wasn't just 5,000 people who stuffed these bears, the volunteers. These bears have been touched by, these 5,000 bears will be touched by 25 or 30,000 people. Because when we get them, someone will put the outfit on wrong, they'll understuff them, they'll overstuff them, and people have to quality control them. So literally tens of thousands of service hours go into making these battalion buddies military kid ready, so that then when they hug this at night, when they're missing their parents, that it's the perfect bear. There are literally people sewing hats back on when they're overstuffed, or knitting a seam. We call them the Bear Brigade out in California. So all of our sewers out there, when we're able to meet, we're even sending these home with volunteers to quality control. And then they get boxed up, and we're literally sending this to like 40 or 50 different military units, active duty, Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen. Their families left behind will receive these bears, their kids, and their spouses. Literally thousands and thousands of spouses will receive nice items from a company like L'Oreal, some snack items, and things to make them feel really good too, right? How special is that? And it's really important to realize that, yeah, we're sending 5,000 bears, but we didn't take a machine and blow stuff into them like a Build-A-Bear. These were made by volunteers with love and care. And then they were made even better and improved and boxed with love and care by people back at our warehouse people just like you who have been involved with the organization for years now and wear a blue shirt. And if you saw what I wrote about the blue shirts, there's a woman named Donna Snell who comes every day, and Regina and Judy Lampu who work on our bears, and they're making a difference. And that's their thing. They love to do bears. And now you know why, because they've seen the pictures of the kids who receive them, the tears in their eyes, that the joy in their faces, the smiles, right, that it brings to them. And not only does it give them comfort and the spouses who are left behind comfort, but think about a deployed service member who gets a picture and sees that bear in his child's arms. So I think it's a really special thing, and that's going to be happening literally in a couple weeks. So I'm excited about that. And then in the month of May, I think you all know this by now, that May is considered Military Appreciation Month. And there's a number of days that occur in May. I think there's 8 or 9 recognition days, to include Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day, Military Spouse Appreciation Day. So there's a number of opportunities to support our military. And Operation Gratitude, with your help, what you're doing right now, the items that you're making today, tomorrow, whatever you send us here in the next couple of weeks can be used for this. We will make the biggest impact of any organization in the country, hands down. And that's because we have an army of volunteers across the country that help us do it. And when I say that, we will impact up to 50,000 deployed service and National Guardsmen, deployed service members and National Guardsmen. We've never done that many deployed service members and National Guardsmen in one month, any month, and not even in the month of May when we celebrate Military Appreciation Month. So our hope is to send about 20,000 care packages to deployed troops, like we just did for anniversary, a little bit more. And because of what we did in California, what I told you about at the very beginning with the 4,500 California National Guardsmen, there are actually 31,000 National Guardsmen deployed in all 50 states and 3 US territories right now. So we're going to focus on the biggest states or the states that have the most National Guardsmen deployed. Over 1,000, there are 7 states. And then I think there are about 19 states that have 500 to 999. So we'll go after those 26, 27 first. And then if we can get to other states, we will, based on our inventory and whether or not those states want our care packages. They not always want them. And then lastly, on May 23rd, Kyle Busch, I don't know how many of you follow NASCAR. He's actually number 18. His car is number 18. And one of our big supporters is Mars Wrigley. So they make M&Ms, and his car is frequently skinned out in a different color of M&Ms or Skittles or whatever they decide to paint the car that specific race. On May 23rd, on the back of his car is going to be Operation Gratitude's logo. He's done that a few times before. So hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, he's leading the race, because when they show that car, they always show the bumper, right? Because you can see it, or the driver behind has a camera. So we want him to be in first, and we want to see that logo so people see it all the time. And Kyle actually did a video for us, which we're gonna show tomorrow on social media. I'm giving you a sneak preview. This is super top secret. So that'll happen tomorrow. And I think the last thing I would say about Military Appreciation Month is, you hear me talk about saying thank you and building bridges, right? For Operation Gratitude, it can be both. Everyone's here for different reasons. And, you know, I served in the military for 20 years, and I'll tell you that military families feel disconnected from their communities. So we do have to go beyond saying thank you. We'll always be an organization that expresses gratitude and sends care packages filled with the beautiful items that you send. But we will look for opportunities to grow on that, right? To build on that foundation so that military families feel connected. But I will also want Military Appreciation Month to be about, as the organization called Operation Gratitude, is to be about appreciation and gratitude. But I also want to talk to people about creating a better understanding, because appreciation has 2 meanings, right? If you think about the word appreciation, and you really appreciate someone, it could be in terms of gratitude, but when you really appreciate something, right, an issue, it's an understanding about what that issue is. So I'd like to talk about that. If you hear me talk about it or write about it, it's not to go away from saying thank you, but it's also to say we have to go a step beyond that too and create understanding in the sense of that word. Does that make sense to everyone? Because I like to hear I like to hear that it does make sense before I start writing about it. Because sometimes I think I get in my own head. I write those weekly briefings every week. So drives my wife crazy, but I'll spend 6 or 7 hours writing that. It's not like I just sit down, I type it and I go. I find the pictures on our website, or I find the pictures on our shared drive. I pick the pictures. I go on my phone, I cut and paste them in. I think of every word and I go back again and again and again. And sometimes when you go back again and again and again, I'll say things the same time. The reason I'm saying things again and again and again is because I want people to remember it. I want people to understand that if I'm stomping my foot, I'm stomping it for a reason. So it's good to see a lot of heads nodding and knowing that it makes sense, because sometimes, my wife will read them and she says, "Oh, this is great. It's too long." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's too long, but I'm long-winded." So um, I got to do some things better, but um, I want you also to know that a lot of work and as much love as you put into making your scarves and your hats and the amigurumi figures and bracelets, and people who make the handmade cards too, as much love and care goes into writing those, because I'm trying to express myself and share a
You're
piece
right
of
in the picture.
um, and then lastly, all the things that we talked about, there are things that we're doing. I gave you a lot for Military Appreciation Month in terms of big numbers and the children that we'll support for Month of the Military Child in April and May, just like Paul did last month, and just like I did with him in January and February. We're going to deliver care packages to 10 or 15 or 20 more precincts in NYPD in April and May. We're going to be with the Philadelphia Police Department and a bunch of organizations and delivering to every 911 dispatcher on April 12th and 13th. We're going to be with Atlanta Fire and Rescue Foundation on May 4th on International Firefighters Day and deliver thousands of care packages to every firefighter and EMT. Danielle Tinconi, the Army spouse who you all know that runs our communications, the one with the British accent that you've all met, I think. Danielle is an Army spouse right outside of Fort Hood, in the city that she lives in, the town she lives in called Georgetown in Texas. And she and military families just like hers and civilian families will be standing side by side in their community at the local Chamber of Commerce, assembling care packages, just like the bags I showed you, for 5,000 police officers, firefighters, and EMTs in Austin, Killeen, Georgetown, and surrounding Fort Hood. 5,000. And think about what we're doing, right? You have civilian and military families side by side talking to each other. So when I talk about that understanding that we can create, Danielle can share her story. A military family will stand side by side with another civilian family that they never met. And they'll be saying thank you to first responders, but they'll also be talking to each other and making that bond, right? That's lasting in the community. And that not only makes the communities of Austin and Killeen and Georgetown and Fort Hood stronger, because they're serving together and they're serving first responders and acknowledging what they did during the winter storms, but it'll also make that community stronger because the military families will feel like they're part of the community. Not only they're part of the community, but they're leading a service project for leaders in the community, for first responders in the community. And that bond is sparked at that moment, and they can build on that bond by having more meaningful conversations. So that's what we mean by going a step beyond, right? They're serving together and they're getting to know each other. So I think for you, I mean, my job is to always to ask people to do things, right? Inspire them. Hopefully I inspired you a little bit by telling you what you're doing, right? But I want you to think about 3 things. The first thing is I would love for you to keep on doing what you're doing. I probably said it to you before, but when I go on Facebook every day in the morning, I told you I write something, right? And I write something on LinkedIn, which is my way to reach people in corporate America to inspire them to do more too. But when I'm on Facebook, I do that first. And the second thing I do when I'm on Facebook is I look at OG in action. And I comment and I like. That's not because I have to, it's because I want to. And it's not only because I want to, but it's because it inspires me, right? So there is a cycle here. It's not just me trying to inspire you, it's you inspire me. So when I say keep doing what you're doing, is because you're the fuel that I get out on the road, and Paul, every day to do what we do. And it could be on a Zoom call. It could be something tedious like typing emails all day to companies or volunteer groups. But when I see what you do, it makes me so happy. It makes me so proud. So, and in that regard, if you keep doing what you're doing, I was in the FOB last week, our headquarters last week, and I saw all your items going in. I mean, I had this scarf. I grabbed this scarf. It's so beautiful. And the reason I grabbed it is because some people don't use the specifications, every once in a while we'll get, this scarf is really big, so it'll be hard to put in a care package. And I saw the amigurumi figures, and we laid them out on a table, and I was talking to Stacy about it too. And when I see items like this and I see the figures, I start to think, like, what is the greatest impact that we can make, right? So I picture myself in a situation. I have this bag. I carry this with me wherever I go when I'm on the road. And I carry a scarf like this. So it doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. I'm going to run into someone on one of those trips. And someone is going to need this more than someone else. I'm telling you, they're going to need it deeper and more profoundly than you can ever imagine. And I'm going to have this in my ready bag, right? And I'm going to give that to a veteran or a wounded hero or caregiver, or a service member or a military family member in need. Just like I'm going to start doing with those figures that you all made too. I think we're still at a point where we don't have enough to do a massive service project with them, but we have enough to make a massive impact. And that's my promise to you. I think we really have to, I want to be thoughtful about the person who took the time to make this beautiful scarf like the ones you're making today. And that knitter or crocheter, I can't tell the difference, so I'm sorry. That knitter or crocheter who made this, can you tell me which one?
That's crocheted.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna have to school me on that the next time I join. But I want her to know or him to know that I took the time too, right? To honor what they did. And, maybe I'll take a video or a picture and someone will see, if they follow us, they'll see that too. And the same thing with the figures too. And that, I don't know. I think the best way to think about this is we have other people like Danielle and Paul and Rich and Kelly that have interactions too. So I want to start by leading and taking the items that you made, the special items you made, and making the greatest impact. And then we'll figure out over time, how do we integrate it with a larger production or service project that'll impact a whole community or a whole group. But I hope that makes sense to all of you too, because it's important for me that does make sense and it honors and values what you're doing every day. I just wanted you to hear that when I see those items going into our care packages, like the 3,000 that were made in LA last week, that I always think about our Handmade with Love volunteers and the difference they're making. And then the last two things, I think if you saw the weekly briefing, it is our 18th birthday. And one of the things that I thought would be really neat this year for people on Facebook in particular is to do a Facebook fundraiser and to set a reasonable goal and help us ship the care packages. So over the last 2 weeks, there have been 3 people who did a Facebook fundraiser, and I donated to each of them. And Paul and I have pledged together, because we don't know how many, to start to help ship at least one for each of those Facebook fundraisers. So, to start out, if it's really slow, then Paul and I will both do one. But if it starts to gain momentum, we might have to back off a little bit. Otherwise, our wives will be upset with us. But we'll send a care package with everyone that takes the time to do that. And we're asking people to set a goal, a pretty realistic goal of $270, which will ship 18 care packages. And if people don't do it, it's fine too. But maybe that's something that you would consider as well if you're on Facebook. And then the last thing is where I'll finish where I started. Every once in a while, not just on the OG in Action page, but on the regular Operation Gratitude page, when you see something that really moves you there, don't be afraid to comment in the inbox. I'm Penny, or I'm Donna, or I'm Janet, or I'm Margaret, or I'm Gwen, and say, this is what I did today with Operation Gratitude. And I live out in California, and I'm part of this organization too. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. I think it will show people in those comments, not just in the OG in Action group, but on the main page, the main Facebook page, that we are everywhere, and we are making a difference, not only in our recipients' lives, but our volunteers' lives. And you feel like you're part of it too, if that makes sense. I didn't get through all my bracelets, but I did make, we got to show Paul. I did make 8.
Very good. 8 more than we had. Great. Can we
I have-
ask questions?
Yeah,
me and my
sure.
partner, can we ask questions? Okay.
Absolutely.
I heard you say April 12th and 13th in something Philadelphia. Is that an assembly day?
Yes, so it'll be a small group, but if you're near Philly, you're welcome to come.
Do you know where it's going to be?
Yes, it's going to be at Rivers Casino.
Okay.
So I'll make sure you get the information through Kelly, and your
Okay.
reminder. We
That's
don't
my
know.
old stopping grounds. I'm dying to get out of Rhode Island. I've been
Yes.
contemplating a trip down there, and the 12th and the 13th. Okay. How does one of us, do we contact you? Do we contact Kelly if we want to participate in a assembly day?
You just let Kelly know.
Okay.
And I'm going to do these more often now, so I'm going to probably do this every 2 or 3 weeks, so that.
Do you have a schedule, a published schedule of when the next ones will be? For example, I have a bunch of cities that I'm planning to travel to. So now that I'm fully vaccinated and on my own.
We're not there. We're not there yet because of the COVID situation. We don't want to set false expectations by saying we're coming to the cities when there might be in Atlanta on May 4th, they might not be open, right?
Right. Okay.
So
Well,
right now you have like inside access, and we'll be posting things kind of routinely. But I'll also get on here routinely to share. And when we know this, we set up a registration site, and then we can limit the numbers.
Okay. That would be great. Okay. And the other question I heard was a comment about the Facebook, pardon me, fundraising page. That's different from an OG fundraising page. This is one time. Okay. So
you can do either. You can do either.
Yeah. What if you have an existing fundraising page that's been up for a while?
Yeah, it's easy to refresh, and I can connect the woman Kristen, who's on our development team and does those fundraisers on our website.
Okay, because mine is up and running, and every once in a while somebody will put some in. The mistake was that when they donated in my husband's memory, it didn't go through my Facebook page or my Operation Gratitude fundraising page. They were just donations that were sent in, but
that's fine too. I mean, doesn't matter how you do it.
Yeah, no, but I just meant this is something specific you want to promote, so we'd like to promote it and get some traffic.
Yeah, the same way. The Facebook fundraiser, I think, is the most visible, right? So if one person sees it, they're likely to do another one, and they're like, it's kind of they inspire other people to join our movement because they see it and they're like, well, that was really easy. I donated to Janet's page, and now I'm going to do my own. So the way this would work is Janet does one, raises $270, but she also inspires 3 other people to do that. That allows us to send 18 with you, and then 54 more, and then we send 72 instead of just 18, right? So that's the thing that I think people don't. I mean, what keeps me up at night is making sure that we can pay all of our employees, keep the lights on, and cover all of our shipping costs. And the care packages that we send overseas are sent to the U.S. Postal Service, and they cost between $12 and $15 to send. So that's why we use the $15 figure. Does anyone else have any questions? Because I have to go to another call, of course.
I wanted to ask about, I did not know you could comment on the Operation Gratitude page. I wasn't aware of that. So thank you for that information. I did not know that. And I'll go do that because I love to make comments. And then the thing that you didn't talk too much about is the connections between the volunteers that happen because of this Facebook group. And I think that's what keeps me coming back. If I was sitting at home alone in my chair, crocheting and sending off stuff to Operation Gratitude, I wouldn't have the feeling of connection. And that's really important to me, to not only feel connected with all these people, but then to be connected to Operation Gratitude as a thing. So,
And
I
you're right, Penny, we forged some great friendships.
I think I may have mentioned in the weekly briefing that I actually wrote about you, Penny. I'm going to pivot my weekly briefings here in the next couple of weeks to the recipients again. But maybe that's a good way to be the pivot point, right? To talk about this Facebook community and our volunteers, and then in the context of what it's enabled us to do, because we wouldn't be able to do the numbers that we're talking about if it weren't for that group. So that'll be a good way to kind of change the narrative back to recipients for a little while.
well, I really think it's important to, with the amigurumi you talked about and the ones that we've all been making, that it should be one-on-one. Kelly had an idea a while back of that. This person she saw in the news or whatever, and send the individual things like that. And then one of our ladies, Diane, wasn't it, made all those policemen?
Yeah.
Sending to the 7 children of that slain policeman. So if they're one-on-one, it doesn't have to be a big impact for number-wise, like 1,000 of these are thrown out. But
Right.
one was given to somebody who was very, very special. And you could publicize that or whatever.
I agree. Yes, last question, because I have to go. My team's going to kill me. Sorry.
I've just
I'd like
recently
to
joined
make-
the online group, and I love the sense of connection, especially in this stupid virus time when we're so isolated from each other.
Yeah, I do too. It's nice to even join you. Gwen, you had a question too.
No, I just have a quick remark I'd like to make. And that is this: at the beginning of your talk today, you mentioned about getting the word out, and your volunteer corps is really your best advertising. I've been sending scarves to Operation Gratitude for probably about 10 years. And one thing that really made the nonprofit stand out for me as a volunteer was this. First of all, I'm in South Florida, so I'm not volunteering at your FOB. But the first time and every time I have ever sent any kind of donation of a handmade item, I receive a personal phone call. Carolyn set the precedent for this, I believe. It used to come from Nancy Levy, now it comes from someone else. Personal phone call from someone at Operation Gratitude thanking me specifically for whatever I made, be it scarves, cool ties, etc. And I think this is where nonprofits in this day and age are really falling short with their volunteers, and they're having trouble retaining them, and they're not making the most out of them for marketing purposes either, is that they're not giving them the personal thanks. So I know that the Handmade with Love program is growing in its number of volunteers because Kelly has done such a great job of providing a connection with people in many ways. But I hope that as the number of volunteers grows, that your core of people who are making that personal phone call to the volunteers, I hope that core will grow too, because that's how to retain your volunteers, keep them engaged, and also encourage them to promote because they're having such a good experience.
I will pass that on to Nancy and to Maria, who's a Marine spouse that works with her now.
Yes. She's the one that called last time. It's incredible. Most nonprofits today are just sending blanket, generic email blasts to say thank you. And it makes such a difference when you get a personal phone call. It really just blew me away. Every time it blows me away.
I got one recently from Nancy Levy for the monies that had been donated and the ongoing monies. And then I emailed and texted her back and she responded, and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said that all along. I stopped giving to other organizations because they don't say thank you, Kevin.
Well,
I've told Kelly that.
that's our name. We'll leave on that. I'll leave you on that note, Operation Gratitude, and we'll always do that. So that was all great feedback for me to hear, and it's being recorded. So now I'm on record saying we're going to keep on doing all that stuff and do it better. So thank you for
Thank you,
sharing.
Kevin.
Join you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank
You did a
you.
great job.
It was
Good to
great
see you.
seeing
Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.